So, I have been seeing this study being shared around. The first I saw it was over on Reddit. I'm over on a page here, somebody's page, where I saw it start popping its ugly head over into Facebook here. So, essentially, here we've got a snippet which masks have been shown consistently over time and throughout the world to have no significant preventative impact against any known pathogenic microbes, specifically regarding COVID 19. We have shown in this paper that mask use is not correlated with lower death rates nor with the lower positive PCR tests. Masks have also been demonstrated historically to contribute to increased infections within the respiratory tract. We have examined the common occurrence of oral and nasal pathogens accessing deeper tissues and blood and potential consequences of such events. We have demonstrated from the clinical and historical data cited herein, we conclude the use of face masks will contribute to far more morbidity and mortality than has occurred due to COVID 19. So, some pretty tall claims here. And the snippet that we have here is very misleading, I would just like to say. It's, it's not really showing like anything, and it makes it easy to share. And my biggest critique, I would say, is that when you're talking about science, and then more specifically, like a really difficult form of science, like, virology, something like that, you can't sum it all up right here. Like you've got to really know that whoever's saying these things is legit, that they have any credibility whatsoever. So what I'm going to do is, you know what? I I'm going to go look this up. I'm going to go look this up, and in fact I did. So the site that was given to me via that little post that you saw there is childrenshealthdefense.org, and it pops up, and it's a little weird because here it says part 2. So I'm just kind of confused. When I first saw that, I thought that's strange. Whereas part 1, we're at the top of the page. Was this like a leaked thing? Is that what we're trying to like? That's what the explanation is. Is it was leaked, and then there's just no explanation here. So that already raised a red flag. When you've actually read studies, you'll you would know. You kind of know when somebody's pulling your leg here. But so I was like, okay. So I decided to look here. Face masks have come into common use in many countries since mid 2020 for all age groups. Some aspects of this may be voluntary, but certainly much of this use is either accompanied by force, threat, subtle coercion, or a continuum of subtle to fierce societal pressures on the individual to conform to mask wearing. From widespread fear of COVID 19 associated with the virus name SARS-CoV-2. See, I'm just telling you right now, like, I personally have actually read studies. This is worded really weird for like a study that you would read in like Scientific American. It's got a really weird way that it's worded here, but we'll continue. Of the potential hazards of mass, in which we now turn attention to microbial contamination from mass and mass use, changes in oral nasal microbiota, and potential risks to the lungs and other organ systems from microbial factors. Because widespread masking is a very new society wide experiment, the impact of this experiment, the obstruction of airways from free breathing, and typical air exchange interplay with oral microbiota is not yet known. Furthermore, the effects of such changes in the lungs and beyond are not yet known. See, that's a little weird too, that they would say that mask wearing has never had any studies. I mean, there's cultures that wear masks, but I mean, we'll continue here. This paper will explore some considerations of these changes by examining mask effectiveness against transmission, historical evidence of epidemiology from 1918 to 1919 pandemic, microbial contamination, respiratory disease, and the role of oral bacteria in systemic disease in infections involving fungi, yeast, and molds. Compiling statistical and scientific evidence from these subjects alone should help equip any individual with adequate information on risks and benefits when choosing whether to wear a mask. So, usually, whenever somebody does a study and they're going to submit it to a journal, right? Like, so Scientific American, for example. Usually they're talking to, or they're writing that study or that paper, that research paper, they're writing that for the journal. They're writing it for the professionals of that field. So once again, like I'm saying, it's really weird that they are saying right here that this should help equip any individual with adequate information on risks and benefits when choosing whether to wear a mask. I already am very suspicious that this is peer reviewed. Now, the study may have interesting things in it, and I'll look into that. But first, we need to see who actually did this study. So, first off, we're going to ignore this. It's really weird that we don't have a part one, because I mean, if somebody is submitting a paper to a scientific journal, well, you best believe they want to have all the parts in there, because if they don't, then the journal's just going to turn it down. And in fact, most scientific publications turn down most of the studies that come into them, or that are submitted to them. Most of them are turned down just by default. So let's look at this Boris Borovoy. So, and in fact, hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I wanted to look at the link that I got here. So children'shealthdefense.org here. So when we look children'shealthdefense.org, well, yeah, I mean, it's not a .com, but it's not an edu, and it's not a .gov. We'll see. We'll see. So I come over to children'shealthdefense.org, and I'm over at this members only, but this is just the children'shealthdefense.org. And when we look on here, we've got Robert F. Kennedy Jr., join the movement, support our efforts. Okay, so this is an organization, okay? And this is not like necessarily a publicly funded organization. So if we come down here, one thing that's kind of weird that I saw on this page, so Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he founded this thing. And when we click on here, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., we come to the Vaccine Safety Project, which kind of raised me a little bit of a red flag, because vaccines, coronavirus, mask wearing, it's a bit of a red flag here. So let's go over and look. And when I go over and I just did a quick Google search, I typed in, here, I'll show you. I typed in Robert Kennedy vaccines. Right here at the top, the Kennedy family's vaccine fight. That's the same guy. Look at that. He's a handsome looking fella, ain't he? And right here we see a public spat among bold-faced names broke out on May 8th, 2019, when 3 members of the Kennedy clan published a piece on Politico declaring that Robert F. Kennedy Jr., son of Bobby Kennedy, has been tragically wrong in his years-long crusade against vaccines, a crusade that seems especially irresponsible now as the country suffers through its worst measles outbreak since 1994. Okay, so let's go back here. So we got this from this page, so that makes sense. Just kind of going down the line here, why their page would be very prone and just want to jump upon any study that would come out talking about probably the efficacy of masks, because we know that people who are Anti vaxxers are also, weirdly enough, you would think it would be the opposite, also anti maskers very commonly. So it's not surprising that somebody that is already kind of not a scientific guy, let's just say, would be all about posting this not so scientific study. So let's continue on. Who is Boris Borovoy? Let's look him up. I checked him. I'll show you. I literally just did a Google search, and I don't have a LinkedIn account, so I couldn't look at that. So I looked at Boris Borovoy on Twitter. Liberties are rights, not privileges. Learned this hard way. Music production is my passion. Medicine is my profession. Freedom is my religion. Truth is love. Sounds like an interesting guy. Now, when I kind of went through here, we haven't really disproven anything on this guy. But we do know for a fact that it is the guy that did the study because, let me find this here. I found down here that he had reposted. It's a little bit down here because remember, it was November 14th that it was. It's not it. He reshared. Ooh, that tweet is unavailable. He was blocked. he's he's retweeting Trump, which is awfully interesting, considering Trump was an anti-masker as well. Here it is. Okay, no conspiracy indeed. Millions will gladly accept NW New World Order naturally. So this is a doctor that's literally talking about the New World Order. And here we go. We've got childrenshealthdefense.org again that he is sharing. And what is this? Your guide to the Great Reset. The globalist technocracy is using the COVID-19 pandemic to bypass democratic accountability, override opposition, accelerate their agenda, and to impose it on the public against our will. The Great Reset refers to a global agenda to monitor and control the world through digital surveillance. You'll be tied to it through an electronic ID linked to your bank account and health records and social credit ID that will end up dictating every facet of your life. Hold on, everybody. I gotta get my tinfoil hat real quick. No, I'm just kidding. Let's continue. The Great Reset is about getting rid of capitalism and free enterprise and replacing them with technocracy, publicly referred to as sustainable development and stakeholder capitalism. So this is on this same page for Children's Health Defense that we got this study, all right, which is where it originally came from, all right. There's no other place that I can find an original. All of them are just referencing back to this same link. So let's continue on. That we just kind of just opened up the egg here, and it's starting to smell. Seems like a rotten egg. But anyway, so I'm just gonna go out and say that this guy is questionable. He's questionable. I'm not saying he isn't a doctor. I'm just saying that I'm questioning whether he, especially when he didn't even put MD in front of his name, is he not a medical doctor or whatever? That's a little weird, but let's continue on. Who's the next person we got here? We got Colleen Huber. Okay. Got her right here. So when I searched Colleen Huber, she has her own dang website. That's convenient. Pretty, background here. So calming and natural. Okay. Dr. Colleen Huber is a naturopathic medical doctor in Tempe, Arizona. Her clinic, Nature Works Best Cancer Clinic, has reported its results and detailed documentation of every patient who stayed at least 2 weeks at the clinic from 2006 to 2014. Those results are here at this link. She did a study on sugar intake in cancer patients. Um, she's a cancer doctor, and her research interests are in the use of therapeutic approaches targeting metabolic aspects of cancer. So I'm just going to say, hey, good for her, but literally everything she does here is cancer. Like it's not COVID-19. It's not, you know, like viruses, like virology, like pathogens. Where's it at? It's not here. So I'm going to say pretty questionable. All right. And I also think it's very questionable. And maybe this is just me not knowing necessarily the medical field, but I'm already have a red flag when I see naturopathic medical doctor. Like having that there is really suspicious to me. Very suspicious. And it should be like if I go to a doctor and they say, "Hi, I'm Steve. I'm a naturopathic medical doctor." I'm going to raise an eyebrow and say, "What does that mean?" Because in fact, let's just look it up. We got the beauty of the internet. Okay. Okay, National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health. Awesome. Naturopathy, also called naturopathic medicine, is a medical system that has evolved from a combination of traditional practices and healthcare approaches popular in Europe during the 19th century. Interesting. People visit naturopathic practitioners. So, for anybody that's, you know, watched up to this point, we're talking about somebody that we're supposed to take seriously in their study regarding mask efficacy in regards to COVID 19. So, why am I going to go to a naturopathic practitioner for that? That doesn't make any sense to me. All right, so I'm just going to say sorry, Colleen Huber. I really appreciate your uh, uh, dedication to the studies with cancer, but keep it there, lady. I don't want to hear anything about your mask use. So, lastly, we come to Maria Chrysler. And let's make sure I got that right. Yeah, Maria Chrysler here. So, I had a little bit of issue finding her, in fact. It was a little tough to find. And let's just go here real quick to you. Where is it at? Haha. So apparently, she used to have a clinic and it closed no, November 22nd of last year. Anyhow, when I went back and just went up here, it was kind of weird because Maria Chrysler profiles didn't pop up anything. But when I went to this Abetu Naturals, she was previously the owner of this other medical place, right? Well, she apparently opened up a new place called Abetu Naturals, and hey, good for her. You know, she seems like she is a successful medical business owner. That's great. She assists in recognizing, facilitating applications for patients with chronic ailments via the supplement, medical, and pharmaceutical industries. Okay. All right. So, their products, though, well, first, let's look at their investors. Okay. So, their patent holding company is called Shaman Naturals, licensing the full use of patents through Shaman Productions. The Beidou Naturals blends are all patent pending. So, they're a pharmaceutical place and they make potential change. Okay. Frustration with antiquated processes and disconnections between traditional pharmaceutical intervention. So here we go. Homeopathy. So you're telling me that I'm supposed to take seriously the word of somebody who is peddling homeopathy on a website and in their business. Sorry, I'm not going to take you seriously. Now, this here is some really, really scary stuff, honestly. Because really, what we have here is we have three essentially nobodies who have submitted a study to nobody, or it got turned down, one or the other. And, like they did submit it and it got turned down. So now part of this got out onto the internet. Part two, apparently. I don't know. Did we get other parts? Because we need to really be very suspicious of this. I'm going to try to find some links in here. Let's see. JSTOR.org. Open debate. We're not. See, here's a .gov of contamination during. So that's during donning and doffing. Wiley.com. Publications. Surgical face and downward dispersal of bacteria. Let's see what this is. Okay, the ability of face masks to prevent forward dispersal of bacteria is offset by the possibility that they may increase vertical shedding of bacteria from the face during facial movement. To investigate this, a blood agar plate was placed 30 centimeters directly below the lips of 20 volunteers who were encouraged to talk for 20 minutes. Wow, that's a long time. While moving their heads from side to side without a face mask for the first 5 minutes, and with a standard soft pleated face mask for the subsequent 15 minutes. The agar plates were changed at 5-minute intervals. Analysis of the number of bacterial colonies grown each agar plate showed statistically significant reduction in the median number of colonies cultured per plate. When the mask was worn, our results suggest that for procedures lasting less than 15 minutes, the operator should wear a face mask, particularly when the face is in close proximity to the operative field. Need for speaking is anticipated. So that has really, I mean, I guess it does kind of relate, but I don't see, so like, they're saying to wear a mask in this. So that seems a little weird. I mean, I'm not going to look through all of that data because the abstract already told me that they're recommending wearing a mask as long as you are planning on a procedure lasting less than 15 minutes. And if they're not speaking, then we're not even having to worry about that. So I don't really understand how that has to do with debunking mask wearing for COVID-19. So, are masks effective in preventing transmission of COVID-19 in particular? COVID-19 is a remarkably low transmissibility disease. No, it is not. This paper shows patterns of transmission to close contacts from those who tested positive for SARS-CoV-2 in South Wales high schools and primary schools. From 18 initial positive tests, only 2 out of 863 close contacts tested positive as a secondary case. Okay, well, let's look at this one since we looked at it. We got here COVID-19 in schools. Globally, the COVID-19 has been focused on public health measures, including improving hygiene and ensuring social distancing. Some countries have closed schools, blah, blah, blah. Not really seeing anything. Oh, here we go. Okay. Methods. is a notifiable disease in Australia when a person is diagnosed. Uh, Context may be at least. Okay. Close contact is defined as a person who has in face-to-face contact after their exposure. It was most likely, but not certain, that children were affected by transmission in the school environment. I'd, but this is with children anyway, and total number of close contacts, one secondary case, cases. That was despite initial cases occurring in 9 students, including students in 2 schools and 9 teachers. Very detailed follow up. Wow, that's a lot of teachers. Including additional testing for the presence of the virus and for antibodies of the virus occurred in a proportion of the total 863 close contacts identified from the school setting. No evidence of children infecting teachers. One secondary case presumed to have been infected following close contact with 2 student cases. The other secondary case was presumed to have been infected by a staff member, teacher who has a case. Interesting. Seen adults than in children. This reinforces the need for both adults and children to ensure they do not attend school when ill, and if they become ill, to promptly isolate themselves and seek medical attention. Teachers follow measure. Okay. Yeah, I really don't see how this is telling us to not wear a mask specifically. It's a little weird. So I'm just going to go out on a limb here and just say that this guy's super suspicious. This lady isn't even this profession, and we don't even know if this guy is like an immunologist or a virologist. He's like, we don't have any indication as to who these people are, what their specific credentials are, except for this person and this person. This guy, he says on his Twitter that he is a doctor, a medical doctor of some sort, but we don't know what. And it's a little weird that he's posting some stuff about New World Order nonsense. I'm just going to go out on a limb and just say that all of the stuff that's in here, I can take with a grain of salt, because let's just look at this real quick. Let's just take a quick look here. Last updated November 2nd. So they still stand by this blog. All right. There's a tremendous amount of disinformation, you don't say, circulating regarding the use of masks to decrease transmission of COVID-19. As with many aspects of the pandemic, mask use has become politicized, which is unfortunate when it comes to public health. All science, including public health science, is messy. Recommendations change as evidence becomes available. A new virus with limited data, such as the coronavirus, and there's a significant shortage of masks for frontline workers, which is why authorities were reluctant to recommend mask wearing to the general public. If it is understandable that people may look back at this old advice and do not know what to believe, or it is, yeah, I think we should trust the public health scientists and realize their recommendations may change as better data becomes available. It took years to fully understand transmission of HIV. People who disregarded emerging recommendations for safe practices in the early days of HIV did not fare as well as those who took precautions to protect themselves and their loved ones. Coronavirus is primarily transmitted person to person via respiratory spray. Staying away from people, social distancing, and decreasing the germs being transmitted between people are both ways to decrease the spread of the virus. While high quality research regarding mask use is limited, all of the data supports mask wearing as a key public health measure to decrease viral spread. All the data supports mask wearing as a key public health measure to decrease viral spread. Are masks 100% effective? No, nobody's ever claimed that masks are 100% effective. If you over and over again complain saying that, well, that mask isn't 100% effective, what are you talking about? Nobody ever said that. That's a red herring. Nobody argued that masks are 100% effective. Do masks cause low oxygen levels? Absolutely not. Wear masks all day long in the hospital. The masks are designed to be breathed through, and there is no evidence that low oxygen levels occur. This is the American Lung Association. Okay? This isn't just some naturopathic medical guy. This is the American Lung Association. And they are saying, like, the guys and gals that know about lungs, the things you use to breathe oxygen, say there is some evidence, however, that prolonged use of N95 masks in patients with pre existing lung disease could cause some buildup of carbon dioxide levels in the body. People with pre existing lung problems should discuss mask wearing concerns with their healthcare providers. There is absolutely no scientific evidence that mask wearing or physical distancing weakens the immune system. So, seriously, the masks are designed to be breathed in. There's no evidence that low oxygen levels occur. Period. Full stop. This is the American Lung Association. Okay? Like a reputable place to go get information about lungs. What does COVID 19 primarily attack? Lungs. So I'm just going to say this study here is about friggin' worthless. And in fact, I'll take that back. It's not worthless because obviously people are making money off of this. They're getting all these clicks from all these people who just don't understand how science is properly vetted. They don't understand that literally any Tom, Dick, and Harry can make a study. Anybody can make a study. I can go down the street, give a pen and a paper to a homeless guy, and tell him to count the number of dogs that he sees in a given day. And then I can turn that study into somewhere. And it doesn't benefit nobody, right? Like, and where's my expertise in statistical data anyway? But the point being is like anybody with zero qualifications whatsoever can submit a study to their heart's content, but that doesn't mean that a reputable place is going to actually take it seriously, and they shouldn't. And if the reputable place isn't taking it seriously, then you should not take it seriously. That's just how it is. I'm sorry. Like, it's not everybody's job to know all of this information. That's why we have experts. I'm not going to go up to an auto mechanic and tell him how to do his job. Just like I'm not going to go up to an immunologist or a virologist or a medical doctor and tell them that they don't know what they're talking about when it comes to the efficacy of mask use or looking at a really unprofessional and not put together very well study from people who are obviously they have a vested interest in spreading misinformation science. So you got to protect yourselves out there. Like this stuff is ridiculous. We got to have a better metric for vetting information on the internet. But until then, I guess I'll be around. And I'm getting really tired of all these people that just really like will not wear a mask. Like really. It's not hard to wear a mask. Really. Like it is an act of compassion to wear a mask. Don't wear a mask. You are, by definition, selfish. Seriously. It's not even name calling. You are the definition of the word selfish. Do not wear a mask. It's plain and simple. That is the whole purpose of telling people to wear masks. Your right to swing your arms around ends at everyone's nose. You can't swing your arms around and be hitting people in the nose and then complain about your rights being violated to swing your arms around. Just like you can't be going around spreading a deadly virus and then complain about your rights being violated or being told to wear a mask because the efficiency of the mask dictates just in of itself. An N95 mask in and of itself, it's 95% effective. And if you use social distancing on top of that, it's like 100% chance. Even a cloth mask is like 50 to 60%. You're social distanced. It's like pretty close to 100%. This isn't hard. And continuing on with these little studies that have literally no credibility whatsoever and can be seen by just reading some of it. You need to stop. Stop with it. Just wear a mask if you're in public. It's not hard. Did you complain when people told you you can't walk around naked? Maybe somebody did, but what happened to them? Got put in jail. Can't just go around walking around naked. It's gross. Go sit down somewhere like a booth in a Pizza Hut. You don't want somebody's ass dragging around on that. It's disgusting. So it's everybody's benefit that everybody wears pants. All right? Just the same that it's everybody's benefit for everyone to wear a mask. It has gone so long that, yeah, I've been repeating myself, but I have no other avenue other than to just keep repeating that if you think that not wearing a mask is a violation of your rights, you're wrong. You are fundamentally incorrect about how rights are given to people in a society, and also what a fair society is. If you think that wearing a mask is going to give you some sort of a detrimental condition like having less oxygen intake, or you're going to get some other infection. If you have some sort of a pre existing condition, go see a doctor. But I can literally look at the American Lung Association, which we've closed that, lung dot lung.org, American Lung Association, and they say that that's bullcrap. You're wrong. I'm going to believe them. Sorry. Or it's not an opinion. You're factually wrong. Okay? Wear a mask. It is that easy. And bickering about it even further is just making it worse. And on top of that, it's making our country look even worse than it already has the last 4 years. There's no pride anymore. Nobody has pride anymore except for stupid things that have nothing to do with saving people's lives. They have pride in themselves for the individual and not for a collective unit like it used to be. Something's got to change. 3,100 people a day are dying because of people not wearing masks, not staying home. It's plain and simple. This is stuff that you like. Please consider liking. Uh, Wear a mask. Stay at home if you can. I'll catch you on the next one.